According to the news website Quartz and the Wall Street Journal, Twitter is planning to make details about its confidential IPO filing public as soon as this week. Once that happens, we'll learn more about how Twitter is making money. And if the IPO moves ahead at full speed, Twitter could be trading by late October or early November. But there is a catch, as we were discussing. If Congress cannot avoid a government shutdown by the end of the day, it could impact agencies like the SEC. SEC officials tell Bloomberg that the SEC would be left with a skeletal staff during the shutdown, and that could slow proceedings with Twitter and other companies going public. For more on that, I'm joined by Max Wolf, chief economist at ZT Wealth. And Max, the timing of this is something that I know you've been following very closely. How big a risk do you think a potential slowdown at the SEC, a change in the public markets could be on Twitter's IPO?
So certainly, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to join you. I think certainly it is a risk. I think that we're probably unlikely to see the kind of longer-term, multi-day shutdown that would delay this. The other thing, though, and why it is a good point, is that we do see a whole lot of companies trying to get through the IPO door while it's open here. That means a lot of workload for already somewhat lightly staffed teams, because we're not used to seeing this IPO flow.
As you said, the door seems to be open right now. You're one of the guys who thought that Twitter was going to go public in 2014. What do you make of this faster timing that we're seeing?
Yeah, so I was a sort of late 2013, more likely early 2014 guy. It looks like they're going to be a mid-late period of 2013 story. I think that this is a very exciting, big development in large part because it's our real first test case of a marquee company using the disclosure light provisions of the Jobs Act to go public. And my guess is, especially if it's successful, and there's every reason to believe it will be, it'll be the après moi le déluge. You're going to see a lot of people try to bandwagon on disclosure light if Twitter does as well as it shows every sign it's going to do in its approach to the public markets in the near future.
Now, it certainly seems that Twitter is moving at speed. They could take their time if they wanted to. What's the benefit to moving faster? Does that build momentum?
Well, I think Twitter has made the big time. I think Twitter's on its way to becoming the second screen alternative. You see more and more from ESPN to Nielsen to multiple television programs integrating Twitter into their advertising, into their celebrity promotion, into their show promotion. We believe that Twitter will come out above $650 million in earnings this year with a very rapid growth. Look at the stock price on Facebook. Look at the recovery here. And I think the other story here, that's the positive news, and there's a lot of it. The negative news is it's been pretty tough for the tech community to get out with big successful IPOs, and we've seen that window swing wide open, and I think a lot of folks are trying to get through it before it closes again, because that's kind of the lesson of the last 5 years.
Okay, so you think Twitter could only have something to lose if they take more time?
Especially now, right? Part of the problem is when you use the Jobs Act, you do the disclosure light. What grows in the dark isn't always good. There's also fungus. There's also mushrooms grow in the dark here. So the rumor mill goes into hyperdrive because we haven't seen the usual S1 disclosures. And that means the longer you let that rumor mill go, the more likely even the fantastic numbers we're likely to see from Twitter look disappointing as the shares get bid up above any fundamentally justifiable range.
Now, when you look at the calendar, I know Twitter has 21 days from the time it makes this filing public to go public. When you look at the calendar, how do you expect this to proceed? When do you think this is going to happen?
I think we'll probably see something either later this week, and that also might be something that does get pushed back on the government close down. But I think that if you do want to go, you want to go before Thanksgiving, just because the period from Thanksgiving to New Year's is not the time you want to be rounding up or herding the cats, as it were, for a road show or relying on the press to cover you first and foremost. And Twitter is a company everyone feels like they understand and that the press loves because, let's be honest, one of the major value propositions of Twitter going forward has become the first draft of history, and virtually everyone in your all-important line of work uses it, relies on it, loves it, lives and dies by it.
How do you imagine Twitter's roadshow will be any different than roadshows that have come before? You say the business is understandable, but, we've never seen the books. Maybe we don't, understand everything that's going on. And when we see the numbers, some questions will be raised.
Lots of questions. It's a great point. When we see the numbers, the fundamental people are going to start to get nervous about double-digit multiples to total revenue. There's going to be some pushback. That being said, you're going to see growth, you're going to see real revenue, and you're going to see two things very important, which will be firsts in the social space. You're going to see a company that waited until it figured out its revenue story and mastered mobile before it went public, and those were the two major stumbling blocks that slammed into other names in the space, probably most famously around Facebook.